and welcome once again to my video channel adventuresofmidlife.com. Today I want to talk about my snorkeling adventure off Pigeon Island in northeastern Sri Lanka. I often dream of being underwater, marveling at the breathtaking beauty of marine life and its fascinating organisms. Of course, fascinating but harmless organisms. Anyone who has seen snorkeling or diving videos knows the magic of witnessing vibrant schools of fish gliding playfully through the beams of sunlight underwater. But unfortunately, I'm not a strong swimmer. Most of my snorkeling experiences have been in shallow waters with limited marine life, like I did here in the Dominican Republic recently, or while wearing a life jacket which lets me float while peering through the depths below. When I planned my trip to Sri Lanka and I was planning to take a road trip to the eastern part of the country, and when I read about Pigeon Island and snorkeling, I knew I had to experience the adventure. Now that I knew I wanted to do snorkeling, I had to find a guide. I was planning to stay in Nilavali, so I googled and I found a blog post by an Australian who had written about her experience there. She had referred to Rangan, a guide slash master diver, so I messaged him. Rangan and I messaged back and forth, and after ensuring his services, including the safety measures, meet my expectations, I decided to go with him. We started our trip from Trincomalee, where Rangan's diving center is located. After a quick introduction and the payment formalities were completed, we got ready for the trip. And safety first. We were provided with life jackets, fins that fit our feet, and correctly sized snorkeling masks. Rangan then gave us a brief lesson on how to use the equipment. And off we went to the beach and got into the boat to go to Pigeon Island. Pigeon Island is a group of two small islands, the Little or Small Pigeon Island and the Large Pigeon Island. Located about a kilometer off the coast of Nilavali, which is a popular tourist town near Trincomalee. It's one of Sri Lanka's 3 marine national parks. The larger island is mostly surrounded by coral reefs, which are considered some of the best remaining reefs in Sri Lanka. And the smaller island is characterized by its rocky outcrops. Pigeon Island is named after the blue rock pigeons that inhabit the islands. But the islands are also home to diverse marine life, including certain types of sharks and turtles. It took about 20 minutes to reach the larger island, and once we arrived, we received more training, this time on how to navigate in the water. I have used fins before, but still it wasn't an easy task. Particularly here in Pigeon Island, where the shore is full of pebbles and rocky in some areas. Holding onto a swimming ring that Rangan navigated, we ventured into the sea. The coral reefs were a mix of bleached areas because of global warming, and thriving gardens bursting with color and life. About 100 species of corals can be found around the Pigeon Islands. along with a variety of fish, including emperor angelfish and the six-line wrasse. And then came the highlight, the turtles. We spotted one or two during our swim, but the most unforgettable moment was when a giant turtle brushed past my shoulder. I turned stunned to see it gliding effortlessly away. Unfortunately, my action cam failed to record this magical encounter. It was disappointing, but as they say, it is what it is. We also did not get to see any sharks because of the weather and the visibility. We returned to the shore and went to the backside of the island, which is just a few meters away. Yes, the island is so narrow. That side was rough as well, but I stayed for a while before returning to the shore and getting onto the boat to get back to Trincomalee. As the day wore on, the sea became choppier and our boat began pitching and plunging with the waves. Each drop felt like hitting a solid plank, making for a bumpy return ride. Here is some information about the island and the best times to visit. As I mentioned, the Pigeon Island is an island chain made of two islands. We all go to the main island, and in the main island, the front side of the island is where the boats anchor and where most of the action takes place, while some go to the backside for swimming or snorkeling. There are no toilets, hotels or restaurants on Pigeon Island. Visitors are ferried from the mainland. The best time to visit the island is from May to October, before the northeastern monsoons begin. I visited early October and the conditions were still favorable. I am a foreign passport holder and the trip cost me 20,000 Sri Lankan rupees, including the national park fee, the boat ride and guide services. Whenever I set out to explore underwater, even though I am not an expert swimmer, I always take my action cam. I don't invest in expensive ones because technology evolves so fast and I prefer to get the latest affordable option instead. More than a year ago, I faced two main challenges during this snorkeling trip. First, where to mount the action cam. The usual setup is to use a headband and position the camera on my forehead. However, for this trip, I decided to strap it around my forearm closer to my wrist, so I could easily handle it with my hand. And second, the battery life. Cheaper action cams tend to have shorter battery life, so I couldn't keep the camera switched on continuously. In fact, that is one of the reasons I avoided mounting it on my forehead, because it would have been difficult to switch it on and off frequently. With the camera secured on my wrist, I turned it on whenever I spotted schools of fish or a turtle and switched it off afterwards to conserve the battery. But when I returned to the show and reviewed my footage, I realized that the camera hadn't worked most of the time. It was particularly disappointing to discover that I hadn't captured the turtle that brushed past me. Rangan, on the other hand, didn't wear a life jacket and dove down whenever he spotted something interesting, capturing it with his camera for us. So, I am using his footage to show the turtle. Look at us. A big thank you to Rangan, and I have credited him where credit is due. My final thoughts on the snorkeling trip to Pigeon Island. Snorkeling at Pigeon Island was a fantastic group experience that boosted my confidence in venturing into deeper waters, even though with a life jacket. While I didn't spot any sharks, the encounter with the giant turtle made the trip unforgettable. Well, that's it for now. This edition of the Adventures of Midlife.com video channel. Today, I talked about my short snorkeling trip to the Pigeon Island in northeastern Sri Lanka. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you again soon in another adventure of mine. Till then, ciao.